All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Twos in the Face Wrestling Podcast. On today's episode, I hope you have noticed, you the listener, we've been getting a little bit of hopefully more regular show cadence. It's really hard to keep up with all the shows that are going on. But we've done Warrior Sweet 16 that took place. We've done Freelance Underground. You probably heard a recap on that last week. Talked about AEW's Jim Lynam Memorial Tournament. And then also we can't forget about our boys in green, Zelo Pro, Matt Bacaling, and DRey. Before I introduce you guys and say hello, Chris, I want to go to you in your Brian Keith replica poncho. How you doing, Chris?
Doing well, man. I mean, I got to rock the poncho. It's pretty cold here now. And clearly my office does not have enough insulation. So, trying to keep warm and having a couple shots of tequila here with my sparkling water. So we should be good to go, man. I'm excited. Zelo Pro, boys in green. I like that.
Yeah. Matt, how you been, man?
We're good, man. We're good. We're doing all the things we can to stay busy and stay relevant. And it's coming along very, very well so far. On a personal note, similar to Chris, we're expecting baby number 3 here in about 3 weeks now. So
congrats.
Thank you. That's very, very soon on the agenda following this next show that we have coming up. So that'll put us on a little bit of a hiatus. But other than that, man, we're rocking and rolling.
Awesome. And then DRey, how you been, man?
I've been good, man. Sitting here watching you guys, watching wrestling, enjoying wrestling after our last show, and I'm just prepping for this next one coming up next week. Or in a couple days when this airs.
Yeah, exactly. Matt, tell me your thoughts on when you stumbled upon us and Craig talking about your reign, your whatever EWT or whatever it was, your title reigns.
This could get way longer of a conversation than we possibly needed to. So to avoid going down a complete rabbit hole, it's funny. DRey listened to it before I did. He's like, "Hey, you got to listen to like the last segment of this show," and I listened to the whole thing. But when we got to it, it surprised me how much Craig actually remembered and accurately. I know he questioned his recall, but very, very on point in terms of what was recalled. And I know we tweeted a little bit about it and we got some picture proof as to what had happened. But there are certainly some strong ties in the Chicago independent wrestling scene that go all the way to my backyard. And that's kind of the true origin story of a lot of people and a lot of things. Yeah. So we had some fun in high school. We did our thing. We put some really fun shows together. And he's not lying. We drew up to 300 people at probably our best show, which was a collaboration with some other people in the Chicagoland area. And that really started the role of being a promoter in my life at the very least. But yeah, did some fun backyard wrestling back in the day.
That's awesome. And was your ring name Matt Bacaling as well?
It was. There was no gimmick or anything. I just wanted to get my name over. And looking back on it now, especially when I can YouTube my name and still have some of those things come up, it doesn't work in my complete benefit now being in the real world and working in corporate America. But hey, can't erase history at this point.
Was it just Party Time Matt Bacaling or just Matt Bacaling?
It was just Matt Bacaling. Okay. It's Party Time was the slogan.
Oh, okay, there we
go. Craig was a historian, and I can literally just picture you. He is a historian. I can just picture you running the show back there, just like the belt.
It was pretty. I mean, like at the time when we started, I was 16, 17 years old, just doing a thing on the trampoline. And we, again, not to dive too deep in this because it's a lot of lore in this backyard wrestling world that we could possibly get into, but. There's some fun ties there, and truly it ended up becoming a pretty solid group of guys between myself, James from Freelance Underground, DRey, Mason Conrad, Joey Marks, Craig, John Crowley, who you guys might know now, is working for us. So a lot of these guys really kind of got their start up in Gurnee, Illinois, way back in the day. That led to a lot of things that are going on now, which is kind of wild to think about.
Yeah, and you booked those guys now. So those relationships you built, good people mean good people staying in touch that leads to more stuff down the road.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So we'll throw back a couple Modelos someday and tell some good stories about the yard.
Oh man, when he was explaining that, I was like, oh my god, I can picture it. It was just so fitting. And it's like now he's even running events now. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool. So you guys have been busy. Nebraska, huh? What was going down there? Some corn. Couple matches.
Some
Thunderstruck
corn-fed wrestling fans, man. That was a really fun trip. DRey and I had quite a bit of adventure. We drove up. He flew down to Kansas City to meet me here, and then we drove up to Kearney, Nebraska together. And the interesting thing is that, that was my first time in Nebraska as a whole. I'd never been to Omaha or Lincoln or anything like that. And there was some tie-ins with the Windy City Thunderbolts is kind of how we came about working with this arena there. And so we put this show together alongside the arena because they wanted to bring wrestling to Kearney, Nebraska, and they wanted some really key players that we had in place along the lines of Billy Gunn and the Gun Club and Jonathan Gresham and Chelsea Green and Swoggle and Colt Cabana. So we put together a pretty all-star lineup of talent for this first ever show in Kearney, Nebraska. And it was pretty awesome. I mean, it was in a 4,000 seat arena. We obviously didn't need that much space, but for what it was, it's an ice hockey arena. And that's traditionally what they have there. And the fans that were there had a ton of fun. We went head to head with a Cornhuskers game, which is always fun to try to do in Nebraska in September. There were, DRey's point. There was Cornhuskers, and then the local Kearney, Nebraska college team were also playing that night. So that hit us in terms of the draw a little bit, but we had a good 300 people there to say the least, and put on a pretty fun show. So the big takeaways from that is that GPA and Jonathan Gresham faced off for the first time ever, and they had a really banger of a match. Okay. And then Chelsea Green and Jordan and Laney had a triple threat main event for the Zelo women's title, which Jordan retained. But some fun things coming out of that, which is kind of leading us to where we're going with the matchups that we have for November. But other than that, the Gun Club showed out. Colt Cabana and Dan the Dad had a really entertaining match. That was also another first time ever. So we'll
really, first time ever.
First time ever. It was funny because before the show, Colt said, "Man, like I feel like I'm about to go out there and wrestle a younger version of myself," and truly, like,
wow, that's a compliment.
It was a huge compliment, and they really both stepped up to it and had a lot of fun with it. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to get the footage out there at some point. The only downside, and we kind of haven't talked about this publicly yet, is we use the production team from their local hockey team to do the video for us, and they didn't capture any audio of the show whatsoever. So we didn't learn that till after the fact, which has been kind of a bummer. So it's delayed us being able to put anything out on Fight or on IWTV. So there's a good chance we're probably just going to release everything on YouTube. It's just not going to have any audio behind it. And there's really not much we can do about it, unfortunately, which is kind of a bummer because there were some really fun matchups that were seen there. It was a great show all around. And I know we had some fun running the booth there and being in Nebraska for the first time.
Nice. Yeah, those are you guys have 100% been able to put together intriguing matchups. I think there's a couple of matchups that will raise eyebrows that you just said, and even on this card. Ironically, when you wrestle in a town named Kearney, there is some Kearney shit that happens, which is the no offense to the people, but like the sound not work. That's just independent wrestling. It seems at its finest, right there. Like.
We should expect those things to come along. As much as we try to mitigate as much as possible, it's always, especially working somewhere new, it's bound to have its flaws.
Yeah. No, I'm sure you guys will rebound. Cut that, and I'm sure the show was great too. We'll definitely promote it once you guys get in on YouTube. And then you did have a show in Milwaukee that was postponed to Level Up, which by the way, like cool videos and stuff with the whole playing off the video games. I'm a gamer at heart. I love all that shit. Briefly touch on like when that is being postponed or switched or. Yeah.
So those matches are going to be in flux a little bit because now our creative has had to change because of the dates and things being a little bit out of order. So that show was originally scheduled for earlier in October. It's now being rescheduled for January 16th, still at Turner Hall Ballroom in Milwaukee. So once any given Sunday it wraps up, we'll start announcing the matches for that and kind of go through what the storylines are going to progress from there. But January 16th will be that rescheduled date. So anyone who had bought tickets for it previously, those are still valid. And then I think once we start announcing some of the talent for that card, people will be interested in jumping in rather quickly.
Yeah, that's smart of you too, not just to run the same card back, but hey, shit's going to change at this next show, so we want it to make sense. Sweet. Well, let's talk about your upcoming show, Chris. Do you want to take it from here? On
yes, any given Sunday. We've been mentioning it. It is on November 7th. Bell time at 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Yep.
Yeah. Doors open at 2. Yep. Okay, and then it's in Lisle, new town.
Yeah.
Far from Joe's on Weed Street. Far from Turner Hall Ballroom and any other places that you've run out of. But it's somewhat familiar to me. What brings you to Lisle?
So Lisle's an interesting location, as I don't personally know any other promotion that have run there. We obviously are running there for the first time at this upcoming event. It's close to what used to be home for me. My wife used to work at the Morton Arboretum right there, so familiar kind of with that area, generally speaking. And this is a venue that has run some boxing events and some micro wrestling in the past, but have never done full-on wrestling promotion. And we had gotten connected with them in a kind of an interesting roundabout way, but they were interested in hosting events. And we were obviously interested in coming back to Chicago after we've had a bit of a hiatus from the pandemic shows that we did back in August and September of 2020.
Right.
And we will eventually come back to Joe's on Weed, where it's just probably not going to happen until 2022. So in the meantime, we, outside of the baseball shows in Crestwood, we thought it was time to get back into Chicago a little bit, and the fans have been calling for it, especially with some of the new talent we've been working with. Jordan as champ has not wrestled in Chicago yet for us, so we wanted to at least kind of get back to that home base, so to say. And Lisle kind of worked out for us, and it's also something that we've been wanting to do for a while in terms of getting back out into the suburbs and trying something outside of the city. And it also kind of helps differentiate our range a little bit and shows what our scope might be. So that's short, kind of long and the short of it is how we came about landing on Base Camp Pub and Eatery in Lisle. It's kind of tucked away in this little subdivision area that Dee and I went and checked out a little while ago, but it's a nice space. They have a bar kind of right in the center of the room.
It has a look and feel based on the pictures that I've seen. It has that Joe's on Weed Street feel a little bit.
Yeah, it has it's intimate. It's not super big, but you could fit 300 plus people in there, and they have your bar, they have your patio and outside area. So kind of depending how the weather is, this weekend could provide for a really nice environment for us.
All right. And I think DRey already tweeted this out because him and I talk about the Bears online a lot. We bitch about the Bears online a lot. There's a lot to bitch about. But the Bears play whether they play that Monday, right?
They play Monday night. Yep.
Okay. Correct. So we're not missing the Bears game.
We're not missing the Bears. Any other team that you follow, maybe the Buffalo Bills, you might miss that game, but otherwise, yeah. The Bears play Monday night. Hopefully they play well Monday night.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go, but I do like your quick Sunday jaunts, and this seems like to be one of them, because you got to get people home. So you guys get in there, you have your matches, and give everyone some time, and it usually ends up being a good show.
Yeah, and we've talked about it, I think, before in that the formula for Sunday matinees, it works out pretty nicely sometimes, especially when we can keep it long enough to give everybody what they're looking for and get some really crucial matchups across, but also respect the fans' time as much as possible and get everybody home at a reasonable hour on Sunday. So we like that too, because it works for our travel days a lot of times, and luckily we're not competing with any Bears games this weekend, so it should be a pretty fun segment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the point, and I hate missing snaps, but I'm even at the point where I'm just looking for other stuff to do instead of put myself through that torture. But Chris, we're going to start us off on the matches here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we can definitely talk about, but let's start off with a great up and comer, like somebody that we've been talking about for several episodes consistently now. But it's Angel Escalera going up against Bryce Benjamin, right? Like another match for Angel to shine, whether whatever the outcome is. at least what we've seen from him everywhere he's wrestling, he is leaving it all on the line. So I'm excited that he gets this opportunity with the Zelo crowd.
Agreed. And D, you could speak to this a little bit. Angel had worked for us for at least 2 shows. He worked a couple of the baseball shows, and then he worked one of the Joe's on Weed Street shows in that Freelance Academy feature that we had last year.
He worked in Milwaukee as well against Big Johnny.
Big John, that's right. So he's gotten some reps for us for sure, and is improving and impressing along the way. To your point, so to have this opportunity against a trainer of his and a mentor of his, and it's something that Bryce was also really looking forward to, and kind of having that opportunity to step in the ring with him and kind of see where they're both at this point. Because Bryce is at an interesting point in his career too, right? Where he's done just about anything and everything and anything. He's been around for quite some time, but he still has something to prove. And now he's also kind of looking to help elevate the future of the business, especially locally in Chicago, especially students of his. So it should be a fun one to watch. As much it is, you could easily just look past it. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I smell dance off
easily. Bound to happen.
That's not going on a very, very sturdy branch there.
Yeah,
when I say that, but.
In Gali, when Bryce worked there, they'd challenge him to dance, and people were very surprised at his skills at salsa dancing. So El Sazon could have a challenge there. Insane.
I mean, I've seen what the sexy mofo can do. I mean, that man can move. Who do you think would win in a dance-off between you guys, the boys in green?
Between me and D?
Definitely Matt. Matt's got the skills. Matt is a huge Backstreet Boys fan, so I'm sure he knows all their dances and can outdance me.
Bust out some 90s boy band routines.
Yeah.
My knees aren't at a good stage right now, so he's definitely got the upper hand.
Okay. Great. Speaking of DRey, we were on that episode with Craig briefly. Only on I think the YouTube version, we started watching one of the freelance Halloween Battle Royals. And you were in it. Yeah. You were in it as the Iron Sheik. So I just wanted to say that was really hysterical. Just that moment you had there.
Here's a little story with that. So a couple days before the show, I texted Nix and I'm like, "Hey Nix, I can't think of any costume. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna have to back out. I really hate to do this." He's just like, "No, you can borrow my costume. I was Iron Sheik for work. You could use that and be Iron Sheik for then." I'm like, "All right, cool, man. That's fine." So then I went there and everyone fucking loved Sheiky. So I was just like, fuck it.
It was so funny. You could hear us talking. If you just listen to the audio, it's funny because you hear us talking and we're like, is that DRey?
Yeah, we all stopped is that DRey?
Yeah. So good. Next up on the so you guys got to help me out the names. Gringo Loco, and I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, and I don't want to sound extremely white. So
Yauko is how
Yauko, and I'm not gonna say anything, but I think this is a return.
I think you know him.
Okay,
yeah, a return for Gringo.
Oh,
back to Zelo Pro.
Return for Gringo, and we've upgraded from sweatpants.
Oh yeah. Oh, what is that? What does his name mean? Why? I mean, I'm once again. What's up worse? I'm not shocked in a bad way, but why the change?
I think that during the downtime and time away from wrestling gave some allowance for retrospect in terms of what works and what doesn't, and actually finding something that he can dig his teeth into. And I know the name is a homage to a city in Puerto Rico, potentially a hometown. Okay. So that's the tie-in as far as I'm aware in terms of that. But this is brand new, fresh start. Under the mask, and I'm excited to kind of see how it goes because it provides a lot of depth and a lot of layers for him that I don't think were there previously.
I gotta say, I was excited about the card, but now that I got that because I feel like I had heard this before, and now it just clicked as I was about to talk about that match. I'm extremely excited now.
Yeah,
now this is a perfect match.
It's been something we've been waiting for years.
Yes. This is what we were waiting for, and it is worth the wait. I think at this point to allow that to grow and develop, because truly, when this match, I think, or at least when he had first debuted for us, it was within maybe his first month or so of actually competing on shows.
yeah.
One of the first shows. So to kind of see the growth and development, and maybe it was a little bit too early on back then, but now that we've had a couple of years and now that we've had some time to actually, invest in some character work, we could see some really fun things in the next couple of months.
Let's go.
He's taken creative agency.
Yeah, truly.
It seems.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's so cool. I'm even more hyped for that match now that I know. Yeah. And okay, I can kind of see his body shape a little bit. It makes sense. You have go ahead, Chris. Where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna talk about the tag match. I mean, I feel like some of these guys are familiar, but not too familiar.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting about having worked as much as we have in Milwaukee recently. There's a lot of crossover now in Wisconsin talent that we haven't seen before. And also now that Swoggle is the general manager of Zelo Pro, there's a lot of influence there with Wisconsin talent bleeding over.
Oh, fuck. I missed that little tidbit.
Yeah, Swoggle became general manager of Zelo Pro earlier in the year at our WrestleFest show in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Now that he's kind of out of... Were you guys there?
I don't know. I must have been drunk. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. So that was earlier this year, right. And it worked out really nicely because he had back surgery and is out of in-ring competition for a while, but he's always kind of been an integral part of our product and even more so behind the scenes that people don't get a chance to see. So being able to combine that with his talent as well as his prowess as a character, and now also kind of having something to do with the way that we run and operate is adding some new elements for our product. So you'll see that in some of the talent that will be working for Zelo Pro moving forward, because there are some of these guys who are name staples in the state of Wisconsin, but maybe not, in Chicagoland or Illinois for that matter. So guys like Nick Colucci and Joey Avalon are truly Swoggles guys, trained together. Okay. Broke in together up in Oshkosh, and then Country Air has worked with us pretty consistently,
right?
And also local guys to Milwaukee, and they worked for us in Nebraska and in Milwaukee. So this is truly a bona fide Wisconsin tag match that we get to see in Lisle for the first time.
I love it. Yeah. And yeah, Swoggle's fingerprints are definitely all over that.
You're gonna see it, yeah, even more so as we go forward.
Awesome. Is he going to come out like Teddy Long and start announcing tag team matches?
He has a lot of creative freedom here, so I have a feeling that he's going to start doing a little bit more than what we've seen him do in the past.
Awesome. Maybe he's friends with the Undertaker. I don't know. I don't know who Swoggle's like really chummy chum with, but that was a kind of like Teddy Long thing to do, right?
That's the punishment, right? You got to go on. You should find your who is going to be your Undertaker in this promotion, and then if people piss you off, you just gotta go one on. Now you got to wrestle this guy. It's like, oh fuck, great. There's always great women representation. I think you guys are a leader in that area. Honestly, I think out of all the promotions we talk about, everyone has, it's the buffet line, right? We talk about this all the time. Everyone's got strengths and weaknesses. I think one of your strengths has always been I think as a whole, the industry started making women's matches more relevant. Now it's to the point where you really don't even talk about it because they're always on the card, which is great. But I think you guys were a leader in that, a pioneer in that area, so to speak, around here.
Well, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the women's title is older than the general non-gender specific Zelo Pro title.
Correct.
That's exhibit A. Great point.
We'll talk about those titles shortly.
We're proud of it. I mean, we saw recently the women's 150 from PWI come out, and we're well represented in all the women that have come in and out of the Zelo locker room. So not to be able to take credit for any of that whatsoever, but at least to have a piece of that history and knowing that, if we could provide a platform, we're certainly going to do it and continue to do it, because it's going to remain a staple of the Zelo Pro brand for as long as we're around. And I think fans have come to expect that, which we're happy to oblige.
Right. So that means Heather Reckless versus Sierra makes a ton of sense. Sierra also being, I think, from the Wisconsin area, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So that match makes a ton of sense. Heather Reckless again. I think it was, what was the one we went to in Milwaukee, Chris, where I had to save a bunch of seats? Was that this year?
That was this year.
Yeah, was that WrestleFest? I think it was.
I believe that was WrestleFest. Yeah.
Either WrestleFest was in May, and then Ballroom Brawl was at the beginning of August. So those would have been the two.
May.
I think it was May. Yes.
Yeah.
We saw Heather Reckless get Reckless there.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have a really strong division, so this is an awesome match for sure. Simon Gotch versus Mason Conrad. These are
is this the first time?
Matches.
It is the first time.
Man, I'm just gonna let you go because you just shot ear to ear smile when this took
place. This is one that for me personally, having grown up with Mason, we went to high school together. So a guy I've known that a long time that is still looking to catch a big break in wrestling. And, we've seen him work pretty consistently. I mean, you guys have become familiar with him through Zelo almost exclusively, as he doesn't really work anywhere else. But him and Simon Gotch both have been, were both trained by Harley Race at the same time. They were down there at his camp in Missouri. And obviously it took two very different paths. So the story there is really one that has intrigued us for a long time because they've known each other. Mason is the reason why Gotch came in to work with us in the first place because they had known each other back in the day. And they were originally supposed to work each other on our very first Zelo show before Mason tore his ACL and then was out for the first year of our existence. So that kind of put that on the back burner. So this is the match that we've been wanting to do for a long time because they have those similarities. They also have similar wrestling styles in that they're both kind of old school. They have that brawler and catch wrestling style that I think is going to entertain a lot of people because it's going to be different than the rest of the matches that they see on the card. So the fact that we're finally able to see this and make it happen, we can do it in Chicago is why I'm smiling because I think people are going to be very impressed with it. Yeah.
And Gotch worked with, I'm not going to say his name because he doesn't deserve the promotion, but he worked with another person who we used to be friends with. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a little Easter egg that popped up.
There you go.
So he got me off track because I'm still angry. But Gotch has been willing to work with people that maybe need a little bit of a rub or could use that or have the potential but just need the right partner.
Absolutely.
To do it.
Yep. Perfect guy for it.
That and also just him becoming his progression after leaving WWE, and I think we got to see him a lot in Zelo, especially during that feud that Charlie was just referencing to. But just it got to a point where it's it was him without ever thinking about him being a former WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
Right. He allowed us to buy into his character and see him for his talent and what he was doing in the ring and as a character. And I mean, it came, for a while when we had these monthly shows, I didn't think of him as a WWE former wrestler.
Yeah.
So that says a lot.
It does. Yeah. The vaudevillains, and all that stuff was stopped being tied to him very quickly. And he really developed into kind of this own demented character and Pat really brought a lot of that out of him too in their feud together because they were able to challenge each other in different ways. And that made it really, that made it really special to your point where we got to see this different version of Simon Gotch that we didn't get to see in WWE. And that is further perpetuated throughout a couple different promotions, but truly during that period of time, we got to see it in a really different way up close and personal. And it got pretty gruesome in some of those matches that they had where you really got to see how demented he could be.
Yes.
So it's been a while since he's been back to Zelo. So we'll be very curious to see how much of that has continued and transpired and what comes into play as he wrestles Mason for the first time.
Yeah. And you mentioned the villains, and we also have now the Drama King on this, on this card.
I didn't even notice that until you said that. So I think they've officially shaken. It's been shaken, but I didn't think, they have the villains. Are they gonna do the thing? But no, I didn't even think about that. By the way, I just want to point out that I'm pretty sure Pat lost that feud, so we're just going to put that out there. But yeah, the Storm Grayson is wrestling the Drama King, who you could make an argument. I said this to Chris when we recorded yesterday. If you're
last
listening
week,
to this,
Charlie, last week.
Sorry,
We recorded
last week.
Studio magic.
The multiverse. No. What was I gonna say? I said you can make a argument that Storm Grayson is the most improved wrestler of this year in the Chicagoland area.
Absolutely. I jump into that.
I would back that.
Yeah. That fine. It took forever for me to say.
The match getting distracted. The match that Storm had at the last Freelance show, just phenomenal. So good. Like Storm, like I've known Storm since like day one of training, and like seeing him and like improve and get like this good has just been like awesome. It's just been a treat to like watch and sit back and enjoy.
And like kind of like shedding off. I mean, sure, it would have been great for him to keep the green while working for Zelo, you know, but like him shedding off that green literally and figuratively, and now even his gear is like super kick ass, like the white pads and everything. Like I dig the look, and his progression it's been great. So going up against the Drama King, like honestly, this is one that I can't predict. Like it could be anybody's game.
Yeah. And arguably probably one of the biggest matches of his career to date, at least especially in singles action. I mean, they've sparred before as part of their feud with the Blackheart Battalion, over the last year. So he's been in the ring with Drama King, but he gets his chance to go one-on-one with one of the biggest superstars that he's ever been in the ring with. So I'm excited to see this too, because it really could go either way. And both of them are similar in size, and it could be a really great showcase for Storm. And it's still, a period of time where Drama King's looking to establish himself on the indies. And, there's not a ton of places that he's been seen outside of now Impact and Zelo for the most part. So being able to see some of these different matchups that he's had, he had his deal with Brubaker, and now he's kind of going up against someone truly a formidable opponent in terms of size, could produce a really good wrestling match.
Yeah. The association with the green, I don't know if you guys know, but every time we take someone to the buffet line in an interview and they're somewhat associated with Zelo Pro, we always put Zelo Pro in the word association for the small chance that someone says green when we just we're like, okay, let's put Zelo Pro in here and see what happens. And I think Craig might have said green, right? Or
he did say green. That's what I heard.
So just know that if you have booked this person and they're on the podcast and they're in the buffet line, then that's the test.
That's the test.
That's the test. They need to say green.
All right. Yes. Writing that down.
The branding is
brand association is
fused into our skull. I want to talk about the main event tag match. We're gonna save one match.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you know which one we're saving.
Yep.
Okay. Jonathan Gresham and Jordan Gray. So couple versus couple.
Yes.
It's champ versus champ. Champ versus champ. Jonathan Gresham and Jordan Grace versus GPA and Laney Luck. This is this seems like kind of a new trend. I don't say that in a bad way. I just noticed that Isaiah and Kylie, they got jumped at Logan Square Auditorium, but they had like a mixed couple tag. This is a mixed couple tag. Seems like it's something that's trending this way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's cool. I think it's a unique thing. Was anyone how'd you guys come up with this match? It kind of made sense because of GPA and Gresham, and then to get everyone else involved.
It's kind of been a natural progression of the way this has worked in starting with the fact that Jordan took the title from Laney, dethroned her 30-day reign as women's champion. And then Jordan also almost cost GPA the first ever Zelo championship because she inserted herself in that 6-man ladder match right near the end there.
That's right.
She power bombed him off the ladder and went to get the belt for herself before being stopped by Hyan. And that kind of set the pace for everything that has kind of transpired over the last couple of months in that Jordan and Laney have been going at each other. Laney has had the women's title in her possession pretty much that entire time because she's stolen it from Jordan and hasn't given it back to her regardless of how many matches they've had since then. So there's still that building animosity between the two of them that's unfinished. And then at this last show in Nebraska, Gresham stepped in and took on GPA, because JPA hasn't been quiet at all about the fact that Jordan has won the title and he does not support her as or recognize her as our women's champion. So there's been some quite a bit of an exchange of words that led to the tweets, many tweets that has led to Gresham versus GPA in Nebraska last month. And then Jordan and Laney had faced off with Chelsea Green as well. So at what you guys have not seen yet, at least until this point, was at the end of the women's triple threat match between Chelsea, Laney, and Jordan in Nebraska, is that GPA came out attempting to help Laney win the match, was foiled, and Jordan still was able to retain the title. But then both Laney and GPA kind of put the beat down on Jordan after the match, in which Jonathan had to come out and stop that, which led them to where we are today in challenging each other in this mixed tag match for the first time ever.
Damn, that's a new low, I think, for GPA, because he's always definitely trying to gain an edge and cheat in his matches.
Yeah.
But this is the interference. This is
correct. Now he is stepping into Laney's matches quite regularly.
Damn. I mean, Laney has lost a couple titles recently. I think it's a good thing it frees her up to do some shit like this, which is kind of cool. Maybe become the challenger and take that angle. Yeah. But I mean, a GPA, there's no low that he won't stoop to, right? Like
absolutely
nothing, not. Yeah, nothing's beneath him.
No, and it seems to be only getting worse at this point.
Wow. Well, I'm not surprised. I think there's one more match, though, that we need to talk about, Chris. Do you know what that match is?
Yes. Very unique stipulation. At least I've never seen a live casket match. And here we are, Missa Kate versus Blair Onyx casket match. What led us here? And I mean, how did that
DRey's covering his face.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it.
Closed.
Is that you lying in the casket, DRey, with your hands?
Yeah, that's what I did.
So this match has been brewing for quite some time, and this goes back even to September of 2020, because Missa Kate originally had tagged with Laney Luck against now Cora Jade and Blair Onyx in a tag match at Joe's on Weed Street, in which both Elena Black and Blair Onyx went over at the time, and Missa Kate kind of bailed on Laney, causing them to lose the match. And they kind of, Missa and Blair have always been in a similar race to the top in terms of both in the Chicagoland area and at Zelo, kind of both broke in at the same time, and also kind of trying to establish themselves. And throughout the summer of our baseball shows, they had several matchups where it was kind of a one-up womanship back and forth. And it really came to a head at WrestleFest when the two of them wrestled in triple threat with Hyan to become the number one contender for the women's title. And neither one of them came out on top, and they currently blame each other for that, because they were both very close to the win, but because of their, unable to be able to take the attention off the other, it allowed Hyan to get the win there. And so they were actually set to have another stipulation match back in August at Ballroom Brawl between the two of them in a street fight that never happened because Missa Kate ended up pulling off getting sick. So that got put on hold. And so the lead up to this has been a little bit back and forth and almost kind of undercover, because a lot of this transpired during our run with the Windy City Thunderbolts. But this match came from a challenge of Missa Kate wanting to test Blair Onyx and kind of in her own games in a way, so to speak, and truly wanting to bury her, quote unquote, as she has said. And so
that's Swoggle. I'm sure he
took that literally.
Having the opportunity to put out what could possibly be one of the first ever women's casket matches, and doing it at, it's not, we're a week removed from Halloween, but at this point, there probably isn't two better women to participate in something like this, especially it leans kind of Blair Onyx in terms of strength of persona, but it could really go either way. And I'm really excited to see them rise to this occasion in a match that neither one of them has any experience in.
Wait, so yes, I agree that they're associated. We actually, one of our best performing episodes, this happened like a couple years ago, was those two and now known as Cora Jade.
Right.
We had them all on, and it was one of our best performing in terms of plays episodes. Had a great conversation with them. So I do associate them two together, like you said. It went from a street fight. It could have been a singles match. Like, you guys must have been huddled up and smoking some strong stuff for us to land on casket match. Swoggle probably was passing that joint around. But like, I just don't know how we got here. Like, you explained why they're wrestling, but I think it's truly crazy to me.
It came from them at the end of the day because they wanted to do something that's going to stick out, that people are going to remember, and that's going to be different than the women's matches that we normally have. And what better way to do that than a match that has never been seen before, to my best recollection, both in this area on the independent scene and let alone between two women.
Yeah.
And 100% never seen in Lyle. I can guarantee you that.
No. this is a Lyle, Illinois first. We should have the mayor of Lyle come in and like cut a ribbon. Like, this is our first women's casket match. No, I just Googled women's casket match. I honestly, you could have made, if you would have been like, yeah, no, there was never been one on the indies before, ever. You could have maybe convinced me. I just, Google proved me wrong. But still, it's still one of the most.
I'm sure it's a very short list.
Yes. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be just like a handful of these have ever taken place. I mean, nothing has like this
not
has
to
ever
this
taken place
level.
in WWE.
Right.
No women's casket match, right?
Right.
So there hasn't been a spooky enough woman, I guess, but Blair Onyx is spooky enough. I'm waiting for. I can just picture the promo now, like of her lying in the casket. I don't know if she's recorded it already or put it out there. Her promos usually kick ass.
Yeah.
But if she's gonna do one, I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely, it's right up her alley, and again, it's another one of those where you don't know who is gonna come out on top of it or out of it for this sake.
Right.
That's it. So this is what happens. Blair Onyx wins. Then if people piss off Swoggle, he just says, "That's it. You're going one-on-one with Blair Onyx in the casket."
She becomes the Undertaker.
Yes, she becomes the Undertaker of Zelo Pro, and then she dyes her hair green, and everything turns green to stick with the branding. And you're welcome. I'll take my royalties
right off into the sunset.
Yes, via check, please.
Listen, I mean, we ran through this card. I mean, these are 2, 4, 6, 8 matches. And I think we not intentionally, but also intentionally kind of like worked ourselves up to this casket match. And obviously what I think the main event might be, which is title versus title. Not that the titles are on the line, but champ versus champ.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get excited over it, and I even making that connection with the Vaudevillains, like that's like kind of cool, understanding that they're two different characters now. I'm excited for this match all together, but I'm like, I look at it, I'm like, what can actually open up the show and what can actually close it? Like, there's different possibilities there too.
Sure.
So that's what makes the card exciting. But I gotta put you in a hard spot now. And I guess last week when Charlie and I were talking about this, is that the trend is now that post COVID, like usually most of these shows don't have intermissions. Are we gonna have intermission or no intermission?
This show will have an intermission because only for the most we haven't done intermissions on shows that have been live on Fight TV just for the sake of the production.
Okay.
This show is being taped for Fight TV and will air later on in the week. So it gives us the flexibility to allow the live audience to take that intermission and gives the talent a chance to do their signing and their gimmick tables. So you will see an intermission at this Sunday show.
Okay. Cool. I came to the agreement of like, as long as they tell me that there's gonna be an intermission or there's not gonna be an intermission, I'm okay with it. But not knowing and thinking I can run to the washroom after this match because I'm sure there's gonna be an intermission.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, especially when you drink as much as I do.
Especially when you look at the card and there's no bathroom break matches on here.
That is true.
You just gotta go in your pants, I guess. Call it a day. Yeah, I'm excited for the show. Once again, you're not going to be missing the Bears game, although I'd like to have an excuse. But it is on a Sunday. It'll be a quick, nice show. You'll be home before dinner. you'd be home before it's too late. And yeah, anything else you guys want to say about it, just in general?
It's an all ages show, so bring
Okay.
the whole family, which is nice, which we don't always get to do when we're at Joe's on Weed Street. So being able to be in Chicagoland area and have an all ages show is fun. And I think there's certainly some characters on this card that really lend well to a younger audience that we might usually see at our Thunderbolts events. So being able to have them out at a traditional Zelo Pro show is really exciting. So there's still great seats available. We have stage seating set up as well as ringside seating, and then the way the venue is set up, there's a lot of space for general admission, whether you want to hang out at the bar or hang out close to the ring. It'll be a very nice, intimate environment, similar to Joe's on Weed, kind of how you guys mentioned. But we're excited to be in Lisle for the first time. And, if it goes well, it can certainly be a mainstay for us going forward, because I know that they're certainly interested in it. And so to be back in Chicago is exciting. And it's, we're kicking things off. Once again, it's the last show of the year for us. So we'll knock out 2021 with a bang, and then be reset and ready to go for a fun full year of 2022.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys going out with a bang. And we'll have the if you're listening to this, there'll be a ticket. I hope you guys are finding our ticket links, but they're on the article that you click on to listen to the show. They're in the description of Apple Podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. So if you can't find it, go to Twitter at Zelo Wrestling on Twitter. If you can't find it, you're not looking hard enough. So you should be able to purchase your ticket there.
Thanks.
Great. Guys. All right. Well, I mean, this concludes this episode, but you did mention this is your last show for the year, and I think this is something we kind of will be doing going forward. Just kind of this year when wrestling's coming back, it's not easy. Promotions are still trying to do their best to put the best matches out there. So we want to thank you guys for being able to put shows and be quick on your feet, and even when shows get canceled or rescheduled, if as long as the fans are there to support, you guys keep putting the content out there, whether that's on YouTube, especially with Zelo. I think for the first year or so, all your shows had been on YouTube for free.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can go and visit, watch some shows on Fight TV or whatnot, but just the effort that goes behind putting, a promotion, especially during these times, and looking at the card and allowing us marks that watch every wrestling thing out there to get excited, it means something. So, we want to wish you well as you wrap up this year and looking forward to 2022.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much. So, and it makes it all worthwhile, especially when we can just even have these fun conversations, talking about what we love, and we'll keep churning and burning as long as we possibly can.
Right.
All right. Well, let's go home. As far as Two Heels and a Face goes, you can find us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Two Heels and a Face, number 2 Heels and a Face. You can visit our website, twoheelsandaface.com. If you want to read that one article about hashtag fuck that project, you can check it out there. But outside of that, you can listen to us in any podcast platform. Charlie is going to get these videos up on YouTube so you can see, all the fun stuff that we're doing over video. And that's a wrap. Make sure you hashtag Viva La Chico.
Yes. Continue to do that, please. Hashtag Viva La Chico.
And why not? Beat up GPA.
Of course.
Classic.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks, guys.